Hi Reddit. I'm Robert. I'm 24. And last year, I found out my uncle and his daughter were making plans to cut me out of the only thing my late grandfather left behind, his business. Not some mansion or trust fund. A garage. One building. For base. One office. It was my grandfather's legacy. He raised me in that place. I started helping him sweep floors when I was 10. Learned how to change oil by 13. By the time I hit 17, I was running Saturday shift solo. He always said, "This place will be yours one day." Not because of blood, because you earned it. My dad was never around. My mom's side? Non-existent. So Grandpa filled the gap. He taught me everything I know about work, about being reliable, about loyalty. When he passed, I was 22. Crushed me. He left the shop to his brother, my uncle Darren, with a note saying I was the intended long-term heir, and Darren would manage it until Robert's ready. At first, I thought that meant a year or two. Some transition period. I was dead wrong. Uncle Darren stepped in like he owned the planet. Started changing things. New paint, new prices. Fired 2 guys who'd been there longer than I'd been alive. I kept working. Kept my head down. Thought he was just grieving weird. Then he brought in his daughter, Alicia. She'd never lifted a wrench in her life. Fashion student. TikTok addict. Suddenly, she was office manager. Next thing I know, I'm reporting to her for scheduling. Still, I didn't push back. Until the night, I stayed late to do tire inventory and walked into the office while Alicia was on the phone. Didn't slam the door. Didn't cough. Just walked in. And she didn't hear me. Because what she was saying, he still thinks the shop's gonna be his. It's hilarious. Dad says we'll phase him out slowly, so it doesn't look personal. I froze. She kept going. As long as he doesn't get suspicious, we'll push him out by the end of the year. Then it's mine. Whole thing. I stood there, holding the clipboard, hearing my name like it was trash. She turned around, saw me, froze. I didn't say a word, just turned around and walked out. That night, I packed a bag and left. Didn't even go home. Didn't answer texts. Didn't call Darren. Didn't even quit, just vanished. I knew if I stayed, I'd explode. And I wasn't about to let them paint me as the unstable one. I thought leaving would solve things. I thought walking away with dignity would protect me. You have no idea how wrong I was. The next morning after I left, my phone blew up. 10 missed calls from Uncle Darren. 3 from Alicia. 2 from the garage's landline. I didn't answer any of them. No point. I knew exactly what they'd say. Some spin. Some, "You misunderstood, **T. I wasn't interested. Instead, I crashed at a friend's place. Slept on a couch that smelled like old pizza and wet dog. I figured I'd stay a week. Ended up being 6 months. Within days, they started their little PR campaign. I heard through a mutual, one of the mechanics who stayed, that Darren had gone around saying I'd abandoned the business. That I'd ghosted them after refusing responsibility. Alicia, of course, went full influencer mode. She posted on Instagram. "Big changes at the garage. Family doesn't always mean reliable. Sometimes you build your empire from scratch nail polish." And guess what? My name? Gone. My grandfather's photo was removed from the office wall. They repainted the front signage and rebranded it to AD Auto Performance. AD for Alicia and Darren. The same shop my grandfather bled into. I started picking up odd jobs, janitor work, dishwashing, warehouse shifts. I'd go days without eating a real meal. Wash my clothes in gas station bathrooms more times than I care to count. Burned through 3 pairs of shoes. Every once in a while, someone from the old neighborhood would spot me. "Hey, didn't you used to work at that shop?" "Yeah, used to." I kept telling myself it would blow over. That eventually, Darren would slip. That Alicia would post one too many cocky videos. That the shop would go under without someone who actually knew what the hell they were doing. I was half right. 6 months in, I got a message from Miguel, the last mechanic left who still talked to me. "Bro, they're in deep **T. Darren screwing up payroll. Customers are leaving." Alicia tried to upcharge a dude $700 for spark plugs, and he called her out online. He sent me the link. A local Facebook group post. One of those community watch threads. The guy listed out everything that went wrong and named Alicia directly. Comments were brutal. "This used to be a good shop. What happened? They screw my brother too. Bring back the guy with the buzz cut. He was the only one who knew anything." That was me. But I didn't celebrate. I didn't say a word. Until I got one call I didn't expect. My dad. We hadn't talked in years. Not since he moved out when I was 15. His voice was low. Robert, I just saw something you need to hear. And no, it's not what you think. I almost hung up. But I didn't. Because what he told me was the first domino. I hadn't heard my dad's voice in almost a decade. When he walked out, he didn't just leave, he vanished. No birthday texts. No child support. No checking in to see if I made it through high school. So yeah, hearing him now? Wild. But it was what he said that hit harder. I saw the post about the garage, and I started asking questions. I kept my mouth shut, waiting. Darren's not just screwing you over. He's been lying to the whole family. Your grandfather never meant for him to own that shop. Now I sat up. What? He explained. After my grandfather died, Darren was made temporary executor of the business and estate, basically just a stand-in. The actual plan, according to the original will, was that the business would transfer directly to me when I turned 23. I never saw that version of the will, because Darren rewrote the paperwork and filed it without telling anyone. Then told the family that Grandpa had changed his mind and left everything to him, and Alicia as next in line. My dad got this info from my aunt, Darren's own sister, who had started asking questions too, especially after the shop started getting bad reviews. She kept a copy of the original will. Not the full thing, but enough. Enough to prove I was supposed to inherit the garage. That's when my dad said something I never expected. Look, I wasn't around. I know I failed you, but I'm not letting him bury you while I stand by again. You want to fight this? I'll help. I didn't respond right away, because part of me still didn't believe it. Not just what Darren had done. I believe that part now, but that my dad gave a damn. But another part of me wanted to burn it all down. Yeah, I said. Let's fight. We met up the next day. He brought the will excerpt. I brought every scrap of proof I had. Texts, the garage's old training logs with my name signed off by Grandpa, photos of us working together going back 10 years. Then we called a lawyer. When we laid it all out, the guy leaned back in his chair and said, "If what you're saying holds up, Darren's in deep trouble. This isn't just sketchy, this is fraud." We filed a legal claim to challenge Darren's ownership of the business and request a court order to freeze all transactions on the property until it was sorted out. Now the clock was ticking. I stayed quiet. But Alicia? She didn't. She posted a video the next week, dancing in front of the garage with a girl boss caption, bragging about taking over from the lazy generation. That video would come back to destroy her in court. 3 days after we filed the legal claim, Alicia went viral for all the wrong reasons. That girl boss video, yeah, it hit a local meme page. Someone stitched it with a screenshot of the Facebook thread, calling out her scammy upcharges of the garage. Caption said, "This the same girl that charged my uncle $900 for a diagnostic and still didn't fix his car." Comments blew up. "She doesn't even know how to change a tire. Used to love this shop. Now it's all filters and fraud. Where's the real mechanic?" That dude was solid. They were talking about me. It didn't take long for Alicia to go full meltdown. She made a follow-up TikTok crying about cyberbullying, swearing she was just trying to modernize a toxic workspace. That same week, she tried posting an ad for a relaunch of the shop, complete with merch. Merch. Like people wanted to wear hoodies from a garage that couldn't rotate tires correctly. But while she was busy filming content, our lawyer was working behind the scenes. We got our first win fast. A judge granted a temporary freeze on all garage assets until the dispute over ownership was settled. That meant Darren couldn't legally sell, transfer, or alter anything related to the business. And he was pissed. He tried calling me. Didn't answer. He emailed. Didn't reply. Then he sent a letter through his lawyer. No apology. No explanation. Just a guilt-trippy rant about how I was tearing apart family legacy and letting resentment cloud my judgment. My lawyer responded with 3 lines. "Our client was removed from the business under false pretenses. Your client's altered estate paperwork. We'll let the court decide who's destroying the legacy." But we weren't done yet. Because Darren made a mistake. He submitted old business records to prove he'd built up the shop after Grandpa passed. Claimed I was barely involved before he took over. Only didn't realize I had copies of every schedule from the past 5 years. Photos. Text from Grandpa. Even a damn group selfie from the day we hit our highest sales ever. Me and Grandpa standing with the team, covered in grease. Time-stamped. Geotagged. I gave everything to the lawyer. He smiled. "You've got the story. Now you got the proof." Meanwhile, customers are catching on. One by one, they stopped going to the garage. The local Facebook page was flooded with avoid AD auto posts. Even Yelp turned on them. One guy posted a full video rant after they stripped his lug nuts and blamed him for it. Darren tried damage control, offering discounts. Alicia posted a video in a mechanic costume, probably borrowed from a Halloween aisle, acting like she was taking over operations personally. Disaster. But the real bomb dropped when we got a subpoena for Darren's bank statements. And what we found? Game over. When the bank records landed on the lawyer's desk, he called me that same night. "Robert, you might want to sit down for this." I didn't sit. I drove straight over. What he showed me blew the whole thing wide open. Turns out, in the last 18 months, Darren had pulled over $60,000 out of the garage business account. And where did it go? Not back into the shop. Not to fix the leaking roof. Not to pay the mechanic he fired for budget reasons. It went to luxury spa packages, a 3-week trip to Cancun, jewelry stores, a $6,000 branding consultant that turned out to be Alicia's influencer friend, a personal gym membership billed to the business as staff wellness, and then, the kicker, $10,000 wire transferred to Alicia's personal account, labeled as marketing development. My lawyer looked at me and said, "They didn't just steal your shot at inheritance. They've been funneling company money for personal gain. That's embezzlement." Now it wasn't just a civil matter. It could turn criminal. We immediately filed to expand the case. Not just inheritance fraud, but financial misconduct. We requested an audit of all business transactions since Grandpa's death. The court approved it. 2 weeks later, the IRS joined the fun. Darren had been skimming off payroll taxes, not reporting full income, running under-the-table service charges to avoid fees. And because Alicia was listed as co-manager, she was on the hook too. Their lawyer tried to slow it down, claimed miscommunication, paperwork mistakes, youthful inexperience, all the usual crap. But it was too late. The business freeze became a full lockdown. Court-appointed auditor. Ongoing investigation. And every day, more dirt came out. Miguel, the mechanic who still had my back, told me customers were showing up asking if the place had new owners yet. Some left reviews saying they were waiting for the old guy's grandson to take over again. That's when I realized this wasn't just about revenge anymore. This was about restoration. The place my grandfather built was rotting under 2 clowns who used it like their personal ATM. And now, they were losing control. Fast. But Darren had one last card. He showed up at my door. No warning. No lawyer. Just him. Red-faced. Sweating. Holding a manila folder. "Can we talk?" I didn't open the door all the way. "What do you want?" "Let's settle this. I'll give you part ownership. 40%. No lawyers. No court." I looked him dead in the eye. "You had one job. Keep the shop alive. You turned it into your piggy bank." He held up the folder like it was gold. "Robert, this doesn't have to go nuclear." Too late. It already did. I closed the door. That was the last time I saw him face to face. But the next time I heard his name, it was in court day. I walked in wearing a borrowed blazer, no tie, nerves buzzing like I drank a gallon of black coffee. My lawyer had everything lined up: timelines, documents, transfers, even Grandpa's original training logbook with my name on every single page. Darren showed up looking like a man who hadn't slept in days. Alicia? She came dressed like it was brunch, not a legal proceeding. Full glam. Bright white boots. Someone should have told her this wasn't an Instagram live. The courtroom was small. No big drama. No cameras. But the tension? Thick. First, the judge reviewed the estate challenge. My lawyer laid out the will, the executor duties Darren was supposed to follow, the alterations that conveniently cut me out, and the miraculously disappearing transition plan my grandfather had outlined. Then the financial records hit the table. We showed every wire transfer, every misuse, every time Darren claimed a business expense and spent on personal trips or Alicia's brand deals. Alicia tried to interject once, claimed she thought it was just a gift. Judge raised an eyebrow. "So you received $10,000 for marketing work. What was delivered?" She blinked. "I made some posts. Do you have receipts of engagement, ROI data, anything showing value added to the business?" Silence. She looked at Darren like, "Help me." He didn't speak. Then the court-appointed auditor took the stand. Neutral. Detailed. Deadly. "It is my professional conclusion that Darren, last name, intentionally diverted business funds for personal use, filed falsified business reports, and misled both employees and clients. Additionally, Ms. Alicia, last name, benefited financially from these actions without proper documentation or job function. Boom. Judge reviewed everything, took a long breath, then said, "This court finds sufficient evidence to support the petitioner's claim. Ownership of the business shall be transferred to the rightful heir, Robert, last name, effective immediately. The defendants are subject to ongoing tax review and civil penalties." No applause, no dramatic music, just silence, and Alicia gasping. I didn't look at Darren. Didn't need to. But when I turned to walk out, Alicia muttered under her breath, "This was supposed to be mine." I stopped, looked over my shoulder. You should have picked a different target. Outside the courthouse, Miguel was waiting. The dude nearly tackled me with a hug. "Bossman's back," he said, laughing. I didn't feel relief yet, just stillness, like my body was catching up with reality. I wasn't dreaming. It was mine now. The next few days were a whirlwind. Legal paperwork, new business account, old customers coming back one by one. I rehired the 2 guys Darren fired, scrubbed Alicia's brand off every wall, took Grandpa's photo from my backpack, and hung it back up where it belonged. But the real moment was a voicemail I got 2 weeks later from my aunt, Darren's sister, and what she told me changed everything I thought I knew about how far Darren and Alicia were willing to go. 2 weeks after the court ruling, I got the voicemail. Aunt Carla, Darren's older sister, the one who'd been radio silent the whole time. She never got involved in family fights. Neutral as hell. Switzerland in a cardigan. But not today. Her voice cracked halfway through. "Robert, I should have told you sooner. There's something you don't know." I didn't want to believe it, but I think Darren planned this years ago. I called her back immediately. She didn't sugarcoat a thing. The day after Grandpa passed, Darren showed up at my house. Drunk, sloppy, said something like, he never should have promised that shop to Robert. It's wasted on a kid with no connections. I gripped the phone tighter. He said he was going to rewrite the legacy. That if no one stepped in, he'd make sure you never touched a penny of it. I thought it was the grief talking. I didn't think he meant it. But then she said the part that locked my jaw. A week later, I saw Alicia posting selfies in the shop, hashtagging FutureBoss. She was already calling it hers. This wasn't just a scheme. This was premeditated. They didn't adjust the plan. They erased me on purpose, long before the will was finalized, before I even turned 23. And the worst part? They kept Grandpa's full will hidden. The lawyer who handled it, a friend of Darren's, filed a summary version and never disclosed the handwritten letter Grandpa left behind for me. A letter Aunt Carla now had. I asked for a copy the day of the funeral. Darren said there wasn't one, but I saw it. Your name was on the envelope. She scanned it and emailed it to me. I opened it shaking. It wasn't long, just 5 lines. "Robert, this place is yours. Because you gave it life, not just labor. You earned it through loyalty, not blood. I trust you more than anyone. Make it better than I did. Grandpa." That letter hit harder than any ruling, because it wasn't just about a shop. It was the first time in years I felt like I'd been seen by someone who mattered. I printed it, framed it, hung it right above the desk where Alicia used to record her fake CEO updates. But I wasn't done yet, because now I knew this wasn't just a theft. It was a coordinated wipeout. So I called my lawyer and asked, what happens if we prove they suppressed the will and knowingly filed false documents? His answer, then we stop playing defense and go for criminal charges. The second my lawyer saw the letter, everything changed. He scanned it, verified the handwriting, matched the signature to Grandpa's original business docs. Within 24 hours, we filed a motion to reopen the estate based on will suppression and document fraud. In simple terms, Darren and Alicia didn't just push me out of the business. They buried my grandfather's last wishes and faked a whole narrative to grab power before I even had a chance. This wasn't just civil anymore. This was criminal. Forgery, obstruction, financial misrepresentation, will concealment. Each one carries weight. And when the court approved the motion and opened an official investigation, it felt like a fuse had been lit. The first to crack? Darren's lawyer. That guy submitted a letter to the court saying he was withdrawing from the case due to client misconduct and lack of transparency. Translation. Even he knew Darren was cooked. Alicia panicked next. She DM'd me from a burner Instagram account. Like I wouldn't know, it was her with a username like BossBabe. Airpoint 2021. Message said, I had nothing to do with the documents. My dad told me you gave up the shop. I was just doing what I thought was right. LMAO. No. I didn't answer. Screenshotted everything. Forwarded it to the legal team. They included it as evidence of intentional deception. Meanwhile, the local community caught wind of the new developments. An old customer posted a comparison pic. Grandpa and me in the shop in 2015. Alicia with her nails on an oil cap in 2022. Caption. Glad to hear it's finally back in the right hands. Support flooded in. Former customers, mechanics from rival shops, even a vendor who said Alicia tried to stiff him on an invoice showed up with receipts. And just when it couldn't get messy, the IRS came knocking again. Turns out Darren hadn't just lied about the business to me. He'd underreported inheritance taxes, used Grandpa's death to claim losses, and claimed Alicia as a full-time employee 2 years before she even stepped in the shop. Fraud on fraud. Now we were talking fines, back taxes, and possible jail time. My lawyer told me straight. If this goes the way it looks like it will, Darren's looking at prison. Alicia might squeak by with probation if she flips on him. I didn't celebrate. Not yet. But the final nail was close. Because the judge ordered one last hearing. Not about money. Not about business. About the legacy letter. To determine if it held enough legal weight to invalidate Darren's claim to the estate entirely. This wasn't just paperwork anymore. This was about proving my grandfather meant what he said, and that someone tried to silence him. The courtroom was packed. Small room, but every seat filled. Reporters, garage regulars, old family friends. Even Miguel sat in the back with folded arms and a look that said finally. The judge walked in, serious as ever. This hearing will determine the admissibility and intent of a handwritten letter found posthumously, believed to be the final testament of the deceased. In other words, today, Grandpa got to speak. My lawyer stood up, read the letter aloud. Every word, slowly, clearly like it was scripture. Robert, this place is yours. Because you gave it life, not just labor. You earned it through loyalty, not blood. I trust you more than anyone. Make it better than I did. Grandpa. No one breathed. Even the court clerk paused her typing. Then came the bomb. My lawyer handed the judge a signed affidavit from the notary, who'd witnessed Grandpa write that letter 2 weeks before his death. The guy had been their old neighbor. Said Grandpa asked him to stamp it, just in case certain people tried anything shady. Guess who Grandpa meant? The judge took a deep breath, eyes scanning the papers. Then he looked at Darren. Mr. Last name. Can you explain why this document was not presented during the original estate proceedings? Darren mumbled something about confusion, oversight, and grief. He didn't even sound convinced by his own words. Then Alicia stood up, against her lawyer's advice. I didn't know about any of this. My dad told me Robert was unstable. That Grandpa changed the will for a reason. The judge raised an eyebrow. And you made yourself co-manager based on that. She said nothing. Then the ruling came down. This court recognizes the letter as a valid expression of intent. Due to new evidence and corroborated witness statements, the estate's previous division is invalidated. Full ownership and control of the business and associated property is hereby granted to Robert. Last name. Done. Just like that. Alicia sank into her seat. Darren stared at the wall like he was trying to teleport through it. I didn't smile. Not out of restraint. Out of exhaustion. Because fighting for what's yours shouldn't take years of survival, silence, and war. But here we were. Outside, reporters swarmed. I said one thing. He tried to erase me. He couldn't. My grandfather made his choice. The court just honored it. I walked off. Back to the garage. Back home. We reopened the next week. No streamers. No launch party. Just new tires on old racks. Wolkins lined up. Miguel humming something off-key while wiping his hands on a rag. And Grandpa's letter, framed and centered, where every customer could read it. But we weren't done, because one last thing still hung in the air. The criminal charges against Darren were now active. Darren got arrested 6 weeks after the court ruling. Wire fraud, tax evasion, forgery, estate tampering. The DA didn't hold back. They hit him with 4 felony charges, plus a stack of fines he'd never crawl out of. When they cuffed him, he tried to blame it all on Alicia. Said she pressured him to modernize, and that she was the one who handled the paperwork. Pathetic. Meanwhile, Alicia? She flipped fast. Her lawyer cut a deal. Full cooperation in exchange for immunity from jail time. She turned over texts, emails, internal documents, even a voice memo of Darren saying, "Robert will never see a sin if I have anything to say about it." That was the nail in the coffin. She walked free, but her online life? Over. Her accounts got bombed with comments. Sponsors dropped her. Even her so-called branding clients ghosted. She posted a tearful video claiming she'd been manipulated too. Nobody bought it. As for the shop, it stayed open, under my name, under my terms. We brought back every good mechanic who got pushed out. Started offering discounted repairs for old customers who got scammed under AD Auto. We painted over the ugly branding Alicia installed. Put up a new sign. Robert's Garage, built on grit, not greed. It wasn't a fairy tale ending. I didn't magically become rich, but it was real. And every time I unlock the shop in the morning, I know exactly why I'm there. I built something they tried to erase. And I didn't let them win. My dad, he still checks in now. Small steps. No big speeches. Just sends me car memes and asks if I need help on Saturdays. It's not perfect, but it's a hell of a lot more than I had when this started. As for Grandpa's letter, it hangs right behind the front counter. Customers read it all the time. One old guy teared up and said, "This place feels honest again." That hit harder than any court ruling. So yeah, Reddit. I overheard a plan to screw me out of my future. I walked away. Survived. Came back swinging. They tried to bury me. But I wasn't gone. I was just getting ready to dig them out. See you later.